So my name is Natan Silnitsky, and I have over 10 years of experience as a software developer. And for most of that time, I wasn't aware of the concept of a postmortem. What does it mean? But since I've started working at Wix almost 2 years ago, I've participated in and facilitated quite a lot of post-mortem meetings. And I have to tell you that it really changed my mindset about how I write code and about design. So every time I approach writing code and introducing a change, now I keep thinking, how will it affect production? Will it break some client further down the line? And how can I make sure this code will be as resilient as possible? And also, once I finish with this feature, I make sure I have the appropriate monitoring for it, so I know that if something breaks, I'll know about it as quickly as possible. So why don't we do postmortems? Maybe some people think it's not worth it. They worked on a production incident and finished, and took a few hours, and they finished, and they're now relieved, and they can go on to do their regular tasks, and they have deadlines, and talking about what happened, it's not really interesting. We already fixed the issue. It's not really not worth my time. And I'm talking about developers, right? So, and maybe another group of developers will say that operations should do it, DevOps. They know production the best. They handle monitoring the deployments and everything else. So if they want, they can create such a meeting, and they can invite me, but I'm not going to be in charge of this whole process. I really don't know that much about production in order to do that, so I'm not going to do it. And another important issue here is that they are afraid to get blamed. Maybe someone from management will come to this meeting. There are going to be other teams there, and they will blame me for something I did. It's not a very comfortable position to be in. So what you'll learn today is how to do these postmortems properly, and especially about the facilitator's role, which is a key thing about making sure we'll have a successful meeting, and also what not to do. There are many pitfalls here that we can fall into, where we will digress and really not get to the bottom about the core issues here. Sorry. Oh. Skipped. That's weird.
We need a postmortem. Whose fault is it? Mine. It's blameless. You're fired. You're fired.
Okay. So I'll use the computer instead. So incidents in production are annoying. I think we can all agree on that, and we really can't avoid them from happening completely. It's just impossible. It's a fantasy. But recurring incidents in production are even more annoying, and here we do have the ability to make a difference and to avoid these using this tool of post-mortem. Now, before we actually get to the meeting, we had an incident, and we need to decide on a few things. I'm going to try this again. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is to decide whether this incident even deserves a postmortem, because it's difficult to expect that 100% of incidents will be covered, especially in a big company. So a few rules of thumb here. We can look at the impact of the incident. Did it cover a large geographical area? Maybe it's something that happened all around the world to all of our users. but maybe it only happened to a very small fragment in some small country and it's not that important. What about the severity? Was the whole site down and no one can access it? On the other side of the scale, maybe a small latency increase, not very meaningful. Another criteria is repeating. Is this a repeating incident? That probably tells us that we really want to investigate very deeply what happened and make sure to avoid it. And also the issue of maturity. Now, we're talking about two aspects here. There's the maturity of the team. We have maybe new team members, and they really haven't experienced these production incidents in the past. We really want to get them involved and see what happened and how we can investigate it. And also the maturity of the product. Maybe it's a new product out there, and we really want to investigate our hypotheses and see how really it works in production. So during this talk, I will focus on an incident that happened at Wix. Specifically, this is about the Wix Forums product. It's an app that the site owner can put in the site, and it helps with user engagement, with visitors that can engage with get more interaction in the site. If the site owner puts some posts, they can put comments in, and they can add likes and stuff like that. So what happened here is that at some point they saw that the user could no longer edit the content. They couldn't create new content, or they couldn't even update the existing content. So there was really a big issue here with this app. Okay, so first thing that the team needs to decide is who will facilitate the meeting, okay? Now, usually the team leader can decide this, but it could also be a rotating assignment. There's no limitation on who can perform it. And at Wix, the facilitator can consult with a post-mortem champion in each group, each professional group. There is someone with the knowledge and capability to help them. Now, before the first thing you want to do as a facilitator, you want to schedule the meeting, and it's important that the meeting will be as close to the event as possible. Why is that? You know, why should it be as close to the event as possible? Sorry?
Fresh minds.
Exactly. What people did to help solve this incident is still fresh in their minds. And also, another issue here is that we want to collect data, right? We want to look at our monitoring tools and graphs. And these tools usually only save data for a limited amount of time. It's a few days up to a week. And if we don't collect this data, it will probably get lost, and we will know less about what's going on. And we want to invite all the relevant people to the meeting. We want to make sure that anyone who has contributed and found out that there's a stuff going on and helped with fixing it, everyone will be in the room. The more relevant people will be in, the more we will know what's going on, what happened. And everybody else in the company should know that this meeting is taking place, because maybe someone else, especially from R&D, has already experienced such an event and they want to contribute and help. So it's a good thing that everyone should know about it. Now, after we schedule the meeting, we want to construct the basic incident timeline. And it's important to do this before the meeting takes place, because we only have a limited amount of time in the meeting, and we don't want to take it all up on constructing the timeline. So you want to just list the actions that took place chronologically. That's important that it's according to the time that it happened, and there won't be any mix-up in times. And like I said before, you can gather the information from monitoring tools at Wix. We use New Relic and other kinds of monitoring, like there's Anodot, there's Grafana, a lot of different tools out there, and you can get real concrete information there about what's going on. And also from the communication channels, we talked earlier about Slack, that for every incident, some Slack channel will contain a lot of discussion about how people, what actions did people take, what did they see, and this is a great source also to help build a timeline, and that connects to what Avishai said, that during the incident it's important to log as much information as possible. So the Wix forums incident, here you can see some of the timeline. It started with the deployment of a new version, and we can see exactly when that happened in our custom deployment system at Wix. Later, in New Relic, there is a noticing of increase in transaction time and error rates, and when they drilled down deeper, they saw that there was latency with MongoDB. Then they check what system guys are seeing. So system reports that there is no networking problems on their end, and that's information gathered from Slack. Later, system restarts the services, but after 10 minutes, the connection to Mongo is lost again. And 2.18, the team performs a version rollback, and Wix Forms is back to normal. So that's most of the timeline from this incident, actions that were taken. And that's enough to get the meeting going. So we started the meeting, and you as a facilitator.
Is the rollback of the type that he advocated against, that restarting the system?
No, it's not restarting. It's just getting the system back to the previous version.
So you saved the data?
You mean about if there was any data corruption? It's unrelated to data. Specifically in this incident, one of the issues was that there was a bug in the MongoDB client for Node, I think. So that caused an issue with connection to Mongo. I don't think there was data corruption. And so what happened here is just once they rolled back the version to previous one, then the Mongo client was without the bug, and they saw that everything was back to normal.
This was a Semver issue that Mongo auto-updated on the Node client and it caused the bug, or there was an API deprecation?
So yeah, I think they configured the Node to get the latest libraries.
So it's exactly a Semver fault.
A Semver fault?
They set their Semver to be aggressive and take the latest. And
Yeah, they set them to be aggressive. That's correct.
it wouldn't be the latest if it wasn't the greatest.
Okay, so we started the postmortem meeting, and it's important that you as the facilitator of this meeting explain that what is the mindset that the participants need to be in when they are active in this meeting. We want to be in the shoes of the people that handled the situation at that time. And we want to play the hand that was dealt. What does it mean? That when the person got up and tried to fix the issue, he didn't have all the information we have now in this meeting, right? And there's a lot of uncertainty. And we want to keep that uncertain mindset during this meeting. It's like a good example of this analogy is poker Texas Hold'em. You get two cards, and then you have to decide what you want to do next, but you really are not going to know what are the next cards in the pack, right? And also it's very important that we document the reasoning behind all action that was taken, and think about what is the reason at the time of the incident, and not what you think now was the reason you did something. So here you can see an example of reasoning related to actions taken. So the system guy says that the restart will work. If the restart will work, then it will probably hint at a software issue and not at some networking issue. Okay, that's important distinction to be made in order to discuss what we want to do. Now, why did the team perform a version rollback? That's pretty obvious. They suspected that the new version is causing the issue. That's just examples of reasons for actions being taken.
When you say the team, do you mean DevOps or do you mean
I mean the dev team, yeah. And it's not, there's no one named here, exactly because of the next slide where we don't want to assign blame. And it's important. This is the wrong thing to do. It's an example, okay? We want to avoid assigning blame because once that happens, the participants of the meeting start to disengage. They become silent. They don't want to cooperate. They don't understand. They don't want to share what was the reason they took, right? Because you shouldn't have done that and you shouldn't have done this. So you really want to avoid doing this, and by assigning the responsibility for the team and not for an individual, that also helps with this issue. You can also start the meeting with this quote. It's from Project Retrospectives, but it also can be also for Post-Mortems. Regardless of what we discover, we understand that everyone did the best job they could, regardless, given what they knew at the time, because otherwise they wouldn't have taken the action. Yeah.
What happens when that's patently untrue?
You really want to go with the assumption that a person did something not maliciously and.
So you do the post-mortem as a.
Fukushima, I think in Japan with the reactors, the same engineers got their salaries bumped up 75% because they were there when it failed, and that's invaluable. The feeling of failure for an engineer, especially if you're Japanese culture, then you feel responsibility and you want to learn and you're going to do whatever it takes for it not to happen again.
Right, that's a good example. It really outweighs the cost. The benefits here really outweigh the costs. To make it a blameless environment, you really get people more engaged, and it's much helpful. So once everyone agrees on the constructed timeline, we move over to the open discussion. And here, it's important that you make everyone's opinion heard. Some people are more quiet than others, and you really want to make sure they're also heard. And it's your job as well to make sure that the broader context and the conditions of the problem are being discussed, and the discussion is not turned into some drill down on we need to do the fix like this or like that, and really look at the big picture here, and so we won't miss stuff. So a good example of an open-ended question you can ask for the forum is, how was data gathered? Okay? It's important that we learn that is there an issue with the way data gathered, that data was gathered fast enough and easily in order to understand what happens during an incident, right? So, for example, here, the response could be, I looked at the logs, but there were 2 verbose. So someone can say to that, we should consider changing the log level, maybe only get warnings and errors. And a different guy can say, well, maybe we want to move to Elasticsearch, and then we can pinpoint exactly what we want to search for. So we started with an open question, and we got some great discussion going on. Other areas is about questions about alerts and how fast did we understand that this problem even happened. We don't want to wait for our customers to complain and open a ticket, right? We want to get it from our monitoring system. So that's an important area of discussion as well. And also visibility. So one guy knows that there's an issue. Does everyone else know there's an issue and can help him or her, right? So you drive the agenda and you set the discussion. And you want to make sure that people don't try and get to the root cause, as Avishai mentioned earlier. When people start talking about the root cause, usually it will lead to human blame, what we discussed earlier. At the root of the cause, someone did X and not Y, and this is the problem. And it's not helpful, again, because they will be silent on what we discussed earlier. And another issue, like Avishai said, it's complex system production. So there are a lot of contributing factors and not the root cause that causes everything. If we only focus on that, we will miss a lot of other stuff. Also, you want to avoid people from exhibiting biases. One of these biases, cognitive biases, is hindsight. Now that we are in this meeting, we have all the information in front of us. It's really easy to say, oh, if only they did something differently, then this problem wouldn't have occurred. But once saying a sentence like this is actually counterfactual. It's counter to the facts, because it's describing an alternative reality. The reality here was that DevOps did something, and there was other actions going on. At the end of the day, yes, there was an issue. And talking about what could have been happening here is not really relevant and won't be very helpful. And also, there's also another bias, is confirmation bias, that you have a certain agenda that you believe in, and during this meeting, you search around and you want to see or hear something that will corroborate your hypothesis. And then I said, you see, like I said, this is the real issue here. But you disregard all the other noise around and only focus on one thing. So it's your job as the facilitator to make sure that people don't go into these corners. And because it's a very intuitive thing to happen psychologically. So beware of counterfactuals and judgmental language. Judgmental language is like, oh, I'm perplexed. Why did you do that? That's really weird. Or I'm just shocked that this is what you chose to do. You really want to avoid it because you want to have a supportive discussion and you want all the people to be engaged. So to summarize this section, we want to set the agenda as the facilitator, and you want to make sure people stay focused on important issues here and not to move away to an easy fix or to blame someone or to say, I know everything. So you want to stay people focused. And one thing that we get from all this discussion, of course, is action items, remediation items, tasks that can help us improve. An example areas is naturally alerts. We can add more alerts. We can change thresholds and the configuration of existing alerts to make them more relevant.
How do you do task management?
What do you mean task management?
How
Ah, okay.
Give the action items.
I'll get with that.
Follow them.
It's a good question. I'll talk about it later. So, production tools, improving the way we deploy stuff. Maybe you want to change something in Chef script or in any UI that we have to make stuff more easy and comprehensible. Update our knowledge base with the article is out of date. Maybe update some procedure. Improving communications between teams. It's a very important subject. Teams sit separately, and here in this post-mortem meeting, we can discuss how we can make sure that teams work better together. Test coverage can be improved, and sometimes we don't get the whole picture in this meeting, and we want to make further investigation. Maybe you want to do some load testing and stress testing. And so this can also be tasks coming from this meeting. And these items are important. It's important that they will be according to the SMART criteria. SMART stands for specific, meaning it should be on some specific area and not the whole system. Measurable, you want to know what is the success criteria. Assignable, you want someone specific or some team that will be specific to handle this task. Relevant, we want to stay focused on this post-mortem and not do tasks that are not relevant. And time-bound, you want to have tasks that are achievable in a short amount of time. You don't want to do like a whole rewrite of the system that will take a year, right? And here you can see examples. So they decided to change the log level because it's very simple to do, and change the dependencies such that they don't take the patch version and only take major minor versions. So, but it's really easy to understand what needs to be done here, and it's probably, you can be certain that it will get done. But really do want to have follow-up on these tasks. And well, first what you want to do after the meeting is you want to publish the summary for everyone in the company to see. At Wix we use the Pulse to share it with everyone. And sometimes there are discussions, further discussions with people who did not attend. And regarding the action items, so it's important that they should have a higher priority than usual because they came from a postmortem. It's not just some regular task. And it's important that the tasks are according to the relevant team. So if you think about a task that is not on your team's responsibility or on other teams, it's good to talk to that team and see if you can convince them that it's the importance of this issue. It came from a post-mortem and it will happen again unless an action will be taken. Yeah, we use Jira. It's a regular task. It's just labeled that it came from a post-mortem, and it's in the backlog, the regular backlog of each team. And so that can help it, but this really is a difficult issue because action items can really get swollen up to other tasks you have in your team that seem to be more urgent. So it's a cultural thing. You could do a follow-up meeting afterwards, but you really don't want to make that meeting be like, why didn't you do the tasks, right? Oh, this is not good. So I think once the team takes ownership and everyone in the team has the experience of being a facilitator of this post-mortem meeting, you really get the importance on this. And otherwise, if you don't do these action items, then stuff will happen again, and then you get the production incident again. So you really should have motivation to do that. Now, I have a summary where I wrap things up and tell you what are the main main takeaways and importance of the postmortem. Before that, does anyone have a question? Yeah.
In the middle section there, we were talking about a lot of concepts of kind of withholding judgment.
Right.
Of,
I would like.
How can I do that? I don't know how to do that.
Why? Why would I do that?
I've been watching The Sopranos lately. One of the actors is Steve Sharippa. He used to have a thing on Jay Leno called Steve Sharippa is a Judgmental Bastard.
Okay.
I'm a judgmental bastard.
You can tell.
Really? How is it that, for instance, how is it that if I have a strong opinion, I think that because of the way, for instance, in the December issue with the Mongo, that because it was set to latest, there's a very clear issue that somebody decided that it was all right to go with latest, and therefore yada, 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 and then your users got fucked over. How is it that, what you're supposed to
This
just
guy's
bite
going
the
to be
tongue?
afraid to do things.
Can I?
Because he's afraid of you.
No, you tell him he was wrong, but it's okay, everybody fucks up.
No,
Like,
but
No,
still
you're
not
telling me it was stupid. That's what you're saying. You're stupid.
I'm
No, you
stupid
gotta-
too, come on. Have you
No.
seen my grades from high school?
That's okay, but you gotta tell me you did that.
So why did the developer decide? Why did the developer decide to put latest version? Right. He thought that he will get.
He either won't be in the room or it'll be somebody else's fault, maybe yours, just magically.
No, but the goal is to not set latest on the next time.
No, but
But
like-
we want to be able to say that latest was the problem. You fucked up. It's okay. Everybody fucks up sometimes.
Say latest was the problem.
In Facebook, there is a saying.
But some guy fucked up.
Yeah, but you don't have to say. We have a saying in Facebook.
He didn't fuck up. He did the best he could with the knowledge that he had.
Exactly. What my point was.
Knowledge that the latest is probably wrong. He didn't have
It's
it.
okay that he fucked up though, and we're trying to not fuck up next
So what
time.
do you have to say?
but he-
We have a saying in Facebook that if we would blame people for their mistakes, then we won't have engineers left in.
No, that's if you fire them when they get blamed.
Well, or either
can also
you fire them or they leave.
My point, okay, let's
The point is to not act like Donald Trump and don't fire people.
My point is that if he chose to put latest, it's because he thought this was the best thing to do at the time and what he knew. So he did not fuck up. Okay? He or she did not fuck up. No.
He made the mistake.
He did the best he could
made the
and he fucked
mistake.
up.
He made the
I
mistake.
think that what you're missing, probably what you're missing is the greater context. When you say that something happened because someone made a decision, okay, that's great. The
Right.
investigation ended here.
Okay.
Why did he make that decision?
Because it was the best decision he could make.
Based on what?
Based on the information he had. He
Maybe
thought that
so
this
maybe
was
the problem
he
then
read
was the
the
information?
He read the README.
Is it
He
possible-
used the best practices
Okay,
in the
great.
industry.
Is it-
Perhaps the best practices weren't
So is
sufficient.
it possible that there is an underlying clause, perhaps the information that he read was wrong, maybe it was stale, maybe
And
there
he
was,
trusted it, yeah.
maybe there was a greater.
You didn't have the documentation. It's your fault.
So maybe, maybe
You
there
were
was a bigger context that you're missing because you stopped the investigation at that point in time where he made this decision.
Interesting point about stopping the investigation. That you continue through, you say this was a minor fuck up and there's further fuck ups.
So don't stop because everybody
In
fucks up.
outline, we call it the fight why.
Anyway, what's important here is that in the summary we have an action item to change. We have an action item. Let's continue. You can discuss it later. So the important thing is that we have an action item and it was published, so every other team can see that and say, oh, wait a minute, what's the dependency situation in my service, right? So, yeah.
I just want to say something. So that way, another engineer that wasn't in the company at the same time could make the same mistake. So
What do you mean it's not at the same time?
if I just joined Wix, I never heard about the latest problem and I used latest. How do you stop it from happening? So I have a solution as well. So what we do at Facebook is if we have something that we decide we shouldn't do, there's a lint rule for it. So you can't use latest in your requirements text or
You
whatever.
read your package JSON, well done.
So
CI policing, something like that.
what?
Could be a CI or CI.
So either I find it like if you have a conclusion that doesn't affect your process in general, there's no real benefit from the postmortem. Like, or you could say it was a glitch, it shouldn't happen, and we're okay with it if it's going to happen again, because it's really improbable that it will. So, but if you decide that he did something that you don't want engineers to do, have a lint rule to enforce it. And another way to solve this particular problem is test coverage, of course, and canary. It could also help catching it.
Canary is like a staging integration.
It's
part
like
of
you have, let's say you have 1,000 instances of some application.
You do 1
just-
or 7.
Yeah, and you see the metrics, and you'll catch it when it fails on a small scale, and it doesn't.
Basically, put it to production in Peru.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, so
Mexico, the test.
The guy friend that made
no, but really, like these processes could solve this problem systematically.
Yeah, I know that they also the no framework CI guys also considering adding lint rules. I'm not sure what's the current situation there. Okay, so anyone else? Yeah.
Few things that we are doing in Facebook, you can either take it or not. First is have the post-mortem meeting as a recurring meeting that everyone knows. It always happens in Wednesday, 5 p.m.
That's
and
because
everyone
your
can
fuck-ups
join.
are recurring.
We're just canceling it. We're canceling
And do it even if there is no incident to review. Like just go over action items from the latest
Apologizing like a
or
Canadian,
something like
I get
this. Second thing is focus on fun in this meeting. I usually go to the meeting with a beer.
Just one?
Well,
Depends on the
depends how
incident.
many incidents it is that week.
There's beer for each incident times the severity.
So it's always focused about fun, and this should be a funny meeting, relaxed environment. And I think the two most important things is have leadership on board, talking about how important it is. For example, in Facebook, head of infra engineering is the guy who sits with Mark for one-on-one at least once or twice a week. He always says that the self-review, this is how we call it, this is the meeting that he is waiting for the entire week. This is the best, like the cherry on top of his week. So everyone knows that leadership is on board with this, and no one afraid to come and watch the sub-review. The last thing is praise fixes. In Facebook, if you fix something on a big scale, you get to present your fix and fix of the week, which happens on the company meeting every week. So it's a
Celebrate the success.
yeah, like
story.
celebrate the fixes. So this is the fix that I would add. You can either take it or not.
Fake news is not Facebook's fault.
That's fake news.
I'm sure that when we will fix this, it will be on fix of the week.
Wait, so my company does something a little different, which I wanted to share. So for the open discussion, it doesn't work for us because we're half smart engineers who never say anything, and then half stupid people who talk a lot.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So what we do is we take the first 5 minutes, and everyone writes down the answer to what can we improve so this doesn't happen again.
And then you throw away all the stupid answer.
Not that.
Silently, don't tell the
They
stupid
just write
people
down as
they
many
have
things as
been
they want, they
encouraged.
prioritize the top 3, and then we go around the room and everyone says their items, and we discuss surrounding those items, and this gets everyone to talk and not
And
talk too much.
Okay, but it's important to finish constructing the timeline before that.
Yeah, we can do that.
That's
But
okay.
this is the open discussion.
In the open discussion section. Great. Okay, great points. So remember this slide, recurring incidents in production are even more annoying. I hope I described the situation with postmortems that really gets you benefits You get insight on how your product or service is actually working in production, and you hopefully get the tools, improvements, and the knowledge needed to avoid the incidents in production from occurring. And even if you can't avoid the incident from occurring completely, you at least improve the tools to shorten the time to resolve it, right? So the next outage will be shorter. So I think all these three really show the importance of this tool, and I highly recommend to use it. And that's it. Thank you very much.